Mendeecees Harris is officially a free man, but his release has sparked a storm that no one saw coming. Just when fans thought his time behind bars had put an end to the family's never-ending drama, a new wave of chaos is taking over. Rumors are swirling, emotions are running high, and insiders are whispering about shocking betrayals, unexpected confrontations, and a truth so explosive that it could tear everything apart. The streets are buzzing with speculation. Was his release truly earned? Or was there something shady happening behind the scenes? And what about Yandy? Her reaction to this news has left fans completely speechless. Some say she fought tooth and nail for this moment, while others claim she never wanted him to come home at all. But the real shocker? Mendeecees himself has been dropping hints that suggest prison changed him in ways no one could have expected. What really went down in those final hours before he walked out? And why does it feel like this is just the beginning of something even bigger? Buckle up, because we're about to dive into all the jaw-dropping details of Mendeecees Harris's release, and trust me, you won't believe what's coming next. It started like a bad dream, one of those nightmares that feel too real to shake off. In the middle of the night, a ringing phone brought news that turned everything upside down. Mendeecees Harris was in jail again. Yandy Smith Harris couldn't believe it. She had fought too hard, sacrificed too much, and stood by him through everything. But now it was happening all over again. Her heart pounded as she listened to the details, barely able to process the words. There had to be a mistake. Mendeecees had promised he wasn't getting caught up in anything that could put their family at risk again. And yet here they were. The internet exploded within hours. Social media was flooded with speculation, wild theories, and heated debates. Some fans were convinced he was innocent, that this was all a misunderstanding or a setup. Others weren't so sure. They remembered his past, his legal troubles, and the years he had already served. Was history repeating itself? Or was something far more sinister at play? Inside the jail, Mendeecees sat in silence, trying to wrap his head around how he had ended up there. He wasn't a stranger to this life. He knew how the system worked, how quickly things could turn upside down. But this time, something felt different. It wasn't just the cold walls, the metal bars, or the stares from the other inmates. There was an energy in the air, a tension that made his skin crawl. People were looking at him like they knew something he didn't. Yo, what's going on? Why do I feel like everybody in here knows something I don't? No one gave him a straight answer. Just knowing glances, cryptic comments, and whispers that stopped the moment he walked past. He had a bad feeling, the kind that settled deep in his gut and refused to leave. Something wasn't right. Back home, Yandy was in full crisis mode. She wasn't just sitting around crying, she was making moves. She had been through this before, and she wasn't about to let Mendeecees rot in a cell. She got on the phone with lawyers, called in every favor she could think of, and demanded answers. How did this happen? What were the charges? Why hadn't she seen this coming? But the more she dug, the stranger things got. There were gaps in the story, missing pieces that didn't make sense. Some officials acted like they didn't even know why he had been arrested. Documents were sealed. Calls were cut short. And suddenly, it felt like she was fighting against an invisible force. Then came the first real shock. A message. Anonymous. Untraceable. Just a single sentence. Mendeecees isn't supposed to be in there. But he also isn't supposed to get out. Yandy's blood ran cold. What did that even mean? Was someone trying to silence him? Had he stumbled into something dangerous without even realizing it? She had no idea who had sent the message, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just another legal battle. This was something much bigger. Back in jail, Mendeecees wasn't just sitting around either. He was watching, listening, trying to figure out why things felt so off. The guards were too quiet. The inmates were too watchful. It was like he had been thrown into the middle of something way beyond his understanding. And then, one night, he got his answer. A man sat down across from him in the cafeteria, someone he had never seen before. He didn't introduce himself, didn't even look at Mendeecees at first. For a few seconds, he just ate slow and deliberate. Then, without looking up, he spoke. "You don't belong here." Mendeecees frowned. What's that supposed to mean? The man finally met his gaze, and there was something in his eyes that sent a chill down Mendeecees' spine. "You're in the middle of something you don't understand. And if I were you, I'd be praying for an early release." With that, the man stood up and walked away. Mendeecees sat there, heart pounding, mind racing. What the hell was happening? And then, just as suddenly as he had been thrown into jail, things took another turn. Late that night, long after the lights had gone out, Mendeecees was woken up by a guard. Not just any guard, one of the higher-ups. The kind that didn't just walk around at this hour unless something serious was happening. "Get up." Mendeecees sat up, eyes narrowed. "What's going on?" The guard didn't answer. He just gestured for him to follow. Mendeecees had no choice but to move. As he walked through the halls, past the cells, past the other inmates watching from the shadows, he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a routine transfer. He was being taken somewhere, for a reason. Finally, they stopped in a small, dimly lit room. Another man was waiting there, dressed in a suit. Someone who definitely didn't belong in a jail at this hour. "Sit down, Mr. Harris." Mendeecees didn't move. "Who are you?" The man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "That's not important. What's important is that you're getting out of here." Mendeecees blinked.
"What?"
The man leaned forward slightly. "You're being released. But before you celebrate, understand this. You owe someone." Mendeecees felt his stomach drop. This wasn't right. This wasn't normal.
"Who?"
The man's smile widened. "You'll find out soon enough." And with that, he stood up and walked out of the room, leaving Mendeecees alone with a million questions and a sinking feeling that his freedom wasn't really freedom at all. Meanwhile, on the outside, Yandy's phone rang. She grabbed it, breathless, expecting it to be another dead-end call from the lawyers. Instead, she heard the words she had been desperate to hear. "Mendeecees is getting out." For a moment, she didn't react. She was frozen, unable to process what she had just heard. Then, reality slammed into her.
"How?"
No one had an answer. No one could explain why, after all the pushback, all the confusion, all the roadblocks, he was suddenly being released. And then, just as she was about to feel relief, her phone buzzed again. Another message, just like before. "He's coming home."
"But he's not safe."
Yandy's breath caught in her throat. What the hell was going on? And that was the question that would haunt them both as Mendeecees walked out of those prison doors, stepping into a world that was suddenly far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Mendeecees had barely stepped out of the prison gates when the weight of reality came crashing down on him. The flashing lights of paparazzi cameras, the deafening shouts of reporters, the suffocating presence of onlookers. His release wasn't just personal, it was a public spectacle. He kept his head low, walking straight toward the black SUV parked outside. The door swung open, and he slid into the back seat, exhaling deeply. For a moment, he just sat there, staring out the window, watching as the prison faded into the distance. But instead of relief, unease crept into his chest. His phone, which had been turned off for weeks, was now a ticking time bomb. The moment he powered it on, notifications flooded in, missed calls, texts, social media. The world had been watching his case unfold, and now they were reacting to his release. Some messages were supportive, others not so much. Mendeecees scrolled through the chaos, stopping at a text from Yandy. "We need to talk." Something about those 4 words sent a chill down his spine. He called her immediately. "Baby, I'm on my way home," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. A pause. Then Yandy's voice, colder than he expected.
"Okay."
"I'll be here." That was it. No excitement. No relief. Just that flat, unreadable response. Mendeecees put his phone down, rubbing his hands together anxiously. He had imagined this moment so many times, coming home, holding Yandy, reuniting with the kids. But something told him it wouldn't be that simple. The car ride home felt longer than ever. His driver, sensing the tension, didn't say a word. The only sound was the hum of the engine and the occasional honk from passing cars. His mind raced. Had something happened while he was inside? Was Yandy angry about something? Or was she just overwhelmed? He hadn't been gone for years, but even a few weeks in jail could change everything. When the car pulled up to the house, his heart pounded in his chest. He climbed out slowly, taking in the familiar sight of home. But as he walked toward the door, he noticed something strange. The curtains were drawn, and the house was eerily quiet. He stepped inside. Yandy was standing in the living room, arms crossed. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't rushing into his arms. She was just staring at him, her expression unreadable. Mendeecees forced a smile. "Hey, baby. I'm home." Silence. Then finally she spoke. "We need to talk." Mendeecees swallowed hard. "Okay, what's wrong?" Yandy exhaled, shaking her head. "What's wrong, Mendeecees? Do you even know what we've been through while you were in there? I know it wasn't easy, but you don't know." She cut him off. "You have no idea." Mendeecees took a step closer. "Yandy, I just got out. Can we just—" "No," she snapped. "We can't just pretend like nothing happened." He frowned. "What are you talking about?" Yandy turned away, running a hand through her hair. "Do you know how many people were in my ear telling me I should move on? That I should leave you?" Mendeecees felt his stomach drop. "You're not serious." She turned back to him, her eyes filled with something he couldn't quite place. "I held it down for you, Mendeecees. I defended you when people said you'd never get out. I took care of the kids, the house, everything. And while I was doing all of that, I had to sit back and watch people drag my name. Drag our relationship." Mendeecees reached for her hands, but she pulled away. "I know it was hard," he said, his voice softer now. "But I'm here. I'm home. We can fix this." Yandy let out a bitter laugh. "You think it's that simple?" Mendeecees felt a pit in his stomach. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Then came the next bombshell. "I need to know the truth," Yandy said. He froze. "The truth about what?" She stared at him, her eyes searching his. "About the things I heard. About the rumors." Mendeecees stiffened. "What rumors?" Yandy took a deep breath. "People have been saying that you weren't completely honest with me. That there were things you did before going in, things I didn't know about." Mendeecees set his jaw tight. "Who's been saying that?" "It doesn't matter," she shot back. "What matters is whether it's true or not." Mendeecees shook his head, frustration bubbling up. "Yandy, you know me. You know the man I am." "Do I?" she challenged. He stepped closer. "Yes, you do. I would never lie to you." She held his gaze for a long moment. Then, she reached into a drawer and pulled out her phone. She scrolled for a second before turning the screen toward him. "You tell me if this is a lie." Mendeecees looked down, his blood ran cold. There, on the screen, was a message thread. A conversation between someone claiming to be connected to his past. A conversation that hinted at something Yandy had never known. He felt the walls closing in around him. "Where did you get this?" he asked, his voice low. "Does it matter?" Yandy shot back. "I need you to be honest with me, Mendeecees. Right now." He looked at her, at the hurt in her eyes. He had just gotten home, but in that moment he realized something. His fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. Mendeecees' heart pounded in his chest as he stared at his phone, the call from the unknown number still lingering in his mind. His hands were clenched into fists. His mind raced with the weight of what had just happened. Rico's warning wasn't just a threat. It was a reminder that his past had never truly let him go. He turned back toward Yandy, who was standing with her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. He could see the conflict in her eyes, the pain of betrayal battling against the love she still had for him. "I need you to trust me," he said, his voice low but firm. Yandy let out a hollow laugh. "Trust you? After everything? Yandy, you disappeared into that prison, and now you're back acting like you can control what I do, what I ask, who I talk to. You expect me to just sit here and be quiet? This isn't about control," he snapped, his frustration boiling over. "This is about keeping you safe." Yandy shook her head. "Safe from what, Mendeecees? From your past? From the things you never told me? Because if that's the case, then I should have never been in danger to begin with." Mendeecees sighed, running a hand over his face.
He was exhausted.
Every moment since walking out of that prison had felt like a fight against the outside world, against his past, and now against the very person he had wanted to come home to. "You don't get it," he muttered. "Then make me get it," Yandy shot back. "Tell me the truth. Right here, right now." Mendeecees looked at her, his chest rising and falling with deep breaths. He could see the fire in her eyes, the determination. If he didn't tell her, she'd keep digging. And if she kept digging, he swallowed hard. "Back before I went in," he started, his voice quiet, "I was involved in things. Not just the stuff that got me locked up, other things. People I thought were my brothers, my friends. I made promises to them, deals. And when I went to jail, I left the mess behind." Yandy's eyes narrowed. "What kind of mess?" Mendeecees exhaled. "A deal that never got finished. Money that never got delivered. And now those people think I owe them." Yandy's face twisted in disbelief. "So this whole time, you were out here worried about me when really, they're after you?" "It's not just me, Yandy." Mendeecees' voice rose. "It's you. It's our family. If they can't get to me, they'll come for you. That's why I need you to stop asking questions." Yandy took a step back, wrapping her arms around herself. "So all this time, you've been keeping secrets, making enemies, putting all of us at risk, and you didn't think I deserved to know?" "I thought I was protecting you," Mendeecees said. "I thought if I kept my head down, if I played it smart, they'd move on. But now you've made yourself a target." Yandy let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, so now this is my fault." Mendeecees shook his head, stepping toward her. "No, it's not your fault. It's mine. But now we need to figure out how to fix it before it's too late." Yandy stared at him for a long moment. He could see the battle in her mind, the anger, the hurt, the fear. Finally, she spoke. "Then tell me what we need to do?" Before Mendeecees could answer, a loud knock echoed through the house. Both of them froze. The knock came again, harder this time. Mendeecees' heart pounded. He pulled out his phone, checking the security camera on the front porch. His blood ran cold. It was Rico. He was